Friends, I'm happy to be here to deliver the Ego lecture program, which I've been doing for past few years. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Takashi and my good friend Professor Darrell, who has inspired me a lot in this bioethics field, I would say. I must tell you the fact that at least for the past 15 years, I've been doing bioethics. In fact, bioethics has become a part of my life or life world, because basically I am a philosopher, and a philosopher is always interested in various things, and a philosopher always depicts a holistic view of life. So I am not an exception to that. And with the support of Darrell Mazer, who I heard him for the first time some 15 years ago in Madras University, where my good friend Professor Aruna Shivakami has introduced me to him. She will also be coming today. So from that time onwards, I had an interest in bioethics education, and I am doing it. And I have participated in many seminars and conferences on bioethics. So bioethics is a part of my life. And this HIGO program is something very remarkable in the sense that it gives us an opportunity to share our views among the international students. So I am happy to be here to share my views. I won't say it is a lecture, because I always feel bioethics is nothing but a dialogue. It is not mere speaking somebody and listening some other scholars or students. No. It must develop a methodology in which the participants and the speaker should participate. So that's why we say it is a participational program. So in the participational program, there is always an interaction. So with this brief note, I would like to start my discussion. I have given the title Culture, Religion and Bioethics of India. Actually, what I am going to discuss would be focusing on Hindu situation or Indian philosophical situation, where we try to connect these three important fields: culture, religion and bioethics. And as I said, bioethics represents a holistic view of life. So the culture is already included in bioethics, and not only culture but also religion. So bioethics is a synthesis of culture and religion, which is seen from Indian perspective. Now, how do we understand the notion of culture? Here I am using some methodology which has been developed in India. There are great cultural anthropologists like G.C. Pandey in India, who have argued the nature of culture in this way. For example, he says, nature has no history, but culture as a value seeking is inherently historical. So in short, we can say culture is a value seeking process, because in culture our values are protected. So culture is bound up with the social and symbolic tradition. This means culture has a close link with our tradition. And also in culture there is a developmental process that is involved. So culture has a link with development. In Indian philosophical system, there is a synthesis between culture, religion and bioethics. And this can be seen from the life perspective of the individual, because individual life is connected to nature, because it is not mere anthropological approach which is very much essential, but it is a cosmotheandric vision, which means the entire cosmos, the entire nature, whether it is animate or inanimate, it doesn't matter. So both are included in the values of human beings. And as I said in the beginning, I am focusing my attention on Indian perspective. So India, all of you know, has a very rich tradition. The values, the ethical values and the cultural values which our country possesses is something really remarkable. Because in India, we always believe that both means and end are important. We take together means and end. Means and end means not only the end is important, but the means by which you reach your goal or end is important. So, but I want to tell you, if you want to ask some questions in the middle, is most welcome, because it is very much essential that we enter into a dialogue. So if you have anything which is not clear, you can stop me then and there, so that I can clarify that point and then go further. Okay. So in Indian tradition, we believe that both the end and the means are important. One example I can give. If you take Indian freedom, our Indian independence, it was Mahatma Gandhi, our great leader, the father of nation, who fought against the British. But he never adopted any violent means. So the end for him is to achieve Indian independence. But he never depend on any immoral or violent ways. Which means Gandhi believed that both the end and the means by which you reach the end are important. This is one example. And another interesting feature of our country is that India is a country which has got plurality of cultures. We have got different states, and each state practices a particular culture. For example, I belong to a place called Tamil Nadu, where we have our own Tamil culture. Our language is something different from the other languages that are practiced in India. My language is Tamil, mother tongue is Tamil. So this means why I am saying this is that India has the plurality of cultures. It always appreciates each and every culture. But though we have got plurality of culture, we appreciate all the cultures. No culture is inferior or superior. All cultures are equal. And whether it is a small culture, for example, small culture means the tribal culture. Okay. So whether it is small or big, every culture is important. And every culture has contributed for the development of a country. And also, we must remember the fact that culture adapts itself to situation. Because culture is not static, you should remember. Culture is always in the process of growing. So, in fact, a culture has got two aspects. One is the core aspects. The core aspects of a particular culture is always static. But the periphery, that is outside, that could be changing. So, culture adapts itself to the situation and it takes into account the changes that are taking place outside. That is the uniqueness of culture. It is slow, but at the same time it is steady. And also we must remember the fact that the culture unites people, human beings, into one cultural group. For example, though in India we have got different cultural groups like Tamil culture, Kerala culture, Andhra culture, one can say that all of us belong to Indian culture. So in this way all regional cultures are connected to one common culture, that is Indian culture. Because now we are proud to say that we are all Indians. Though we belong to different parts of the country, the regional, we belong to one nation, namely India. And we must remember the fact that all cultures are cultures because they have some essential elements in common. This we should remember. So there are some criteria on the basis of which we say, well, this is culture. So these essential elements common to all culture will constitute a universal world culture. Because nowadays we are talking about globalization, wherein we try to develop a world culture. A world culture is, I would say, it is a misnomer. Why? Because a world culture cannot be developed because there is a postmodernist would say that this is a very wrong approach. Why this is a wrong approach? Because a world culture would try to swallow the small cultures or the regional cultures which are emerging in a particular area or in a particular place. So I would like to apply the postmodernist methodology, because the postmodernists argue that there cannot be one culture, because in the name of one culture, other culture cannot be separated or cannot be swallowed. So I am of the view, because I believe in postmodernism, I believe that all cultures, whether it is small or big or whether it is regional or national, every culture has to be praised and it has to be supported. So the world culture is a very beautiful concept, no doubt, but I would say it is an ideal concept. It is something which perhaps one can think of, one can talk about it beautifully, but it is very difficult to reach. We must remember the fact that the cultural plurality is real, but the unity is unreal. I want to make this difference. The plurality is real, cultural plurality is real, whereas the unity is unreal. So, in culture, the individual values as well as the values of the community are protected. This means in each and every culture, there are some individual values which has to be protected, but besides these individual values, there is also community values which is also important and which also must be protected. So, in the context of Indian situation, one can say that culture is the guardian of the people. Culture, this means protection. Culture takes care of you. But when there is some disturbance, it reacts when there is a threat to it. I can give one example from my region, Tamil Nadu. You might have seen that how Tamil people protested when there was a ban on Jallikattu. Jallikattu is a Tamil word. Jallikattu means taming the animal, especially the bulls, taming the bulls. Because no, that is our ancient, traditional, cultural value, which Tamil people have been practicing it immemorial, from the time immemorial. And when there is a ban on this, saying that the bulls are tortured, then there was a huge protest. You can never imagine the way in which people of Tamil Nadu reacted to this. So this is when some threat is happening to my culture, when you are trying to disturb my culture, then as a participant of that culture, of that region, I have to make protest. This is inevitable. So this is one example where we can say that when there is a cultural threat to one region or one value which is connected to that culture, then there will be a protest. So when the rights of the cultural group are affected or violated, there is always a protest. So our cultural anthropologist, Professor G.C. Pandey, is a well-known professor in India. He talks about 3 ways of understanding culture. One is the historical method by which you can understand culture. The second is the metaphysical method by which you can understand culture. And the third is very important for him because he talks about how culture has a relation with the mystical understanding also. So taking into his approach, I would like to say these things. One is tradition and modernity are visible in culture. Let me repeat this point, this is very important. In culture, there is both tradition and modernity. What does this mean? This means that traditional values as well as the modern values are synthesizing in a culture. Because we should not forget the fact that culture adopts to situation also. So this means some modern values or modernity is already included in culture. That's why I say that culture adopts to situation. Also I said that it is not static but it is always dynamic. And in culture the values are preserved. There is always the core and the periphery elements, which is very important in culture. There is no one culture or one single culture or universal culture. So we appreciate the validity of all cultures, and here language plays a significant role in culture, and in culture the custom, values and modes of living are protected. Now with this background, let us discuss the Hindu culture. Here I would like to say that Indian stratification, the social stratification is such that human society or Indian society or Hindu society is classified into 4 categories. The first one is the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Sudras. Let me explain that. The Brahmanas are known as the priestly class, and the Kshatriyas are the warrior class. Then the Vaishyas are the business people class, and Shudras are the working class. But here there is a big problem with regard to this social stratification. Because it has been pointed out by many critics that this way of classification of human society into 4 categories makes it hierarchical. Because you say the Sudras, the last one, you say the last one, Sudras, are considered to be the working class. It is said that they have to work for others. And you take the first one, the Brahmanas, otherwise known as Brahmins, they are supposed to be the priestly class. What is that job? That job is to recite the Vedic mantras. There is nothing wrong in making this a sort of classification, not this sort of classification, because in Plato's philosophy also we see the human society is divided into 3 categories. But there I would say it is based on the division of labor. But here the critics have pointed out this classification makes one superior and one inferior. That is a drawback. Now look at the Hindu marriages, for example. I have given some pictures because the Hindu marriage is a very expensive one. You see how it is done with lots of relatives and friends, and the bridegroom will put a sacred thread around the neck of the bride. So in the second picture, next picture perhaps, yeah. The next picture you see he is tying the knot, the sacred knot around the neck of the bride, and you see surrounded by them we see lots of relatives and friends. They are blessing the couple. So this is very important in the sense in Hindu marriages this is inevitable. But of course now we have gone for self-respect marriages, that is those who do not believe in this sort of custom or culture, they just invite a political leader or a reformist, and in his presence the marriage will take place. So this is a traditional type of marriage which is practiced in India, and the religion also contributes. That, for example, Hinduism contributes a lot to this marriage in the sense that there are a lot of formalities which one has to follow while performing this marriage. Now let us see how religion is practiced in Hindu philosophy, in Indian philosophy. Now one of the important religions in India is Hinduism, but there are other religions also. I will discuss that in detail. But let me introduce you one important religion which is known as Jainism. You see the spelling, Jainism. And the founder of this religion is Mahavira, Lord Mahavira. And his philosophy is something very remarkable. That's why I want to introduce you to this philosophy, that is Jainism. For example, this philosophy speaks about compassion and reverence for life. And in fact, the entire bioethics discourse deals with compassion and reverence for life. So, these are the 2 important principles in Jainism, compassion as well as reverence for life. And compassion is a guiding principle of non-violence, because the compassion, what is compassion? Compassion means love for others, right? So, it is nothing but non-violence, non-killing is compassion. So, this is very important philosophy. And they say in Sanskrit, Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, which means of all virtues, okay, Ahimsa, that means non-violence is the highest one. And also we must remember the fact that this philosophy preaches the philosophy of coexistence. This means both you and I, they, all of us have the right to coexist in the world. Which means I should not think that I alone can exist and suppress you all the time. So this philosophy preaches a philosophy of coexistence. So which means the other has a right to survive on this earth. This is a very, very high principle, isn't it? Now another important thinker or philosopher or religious leader, though sometimes we don't call Buddhism as a religion, it was Lord Buddha who preached love, because like Mahavira, he also spoke about love and compassion. He believed in living and non-living beings as part of this cosmos, and he had a pragmatic aspect to life, and he rejects all kinds of rituals that is practiced. Because this is one basic problem in Hindu philosophy, because there are lots and lots of rituals which were practiced during the Vedic times. So it was Lord Mahavira as well as Buddha who fought against the rituals, and he believed in nirvana. Nirvana is nothing but salvation or liberation. Another important religious thinker is Guru Nanak. He founded another religion called Sikhism. You see? Now, what is the uniqueness of this religion? It rejected the caste system. Remember, I was talking about the social stratification in India. The 4 classifications, remember? Now the 4 classification of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras, they are defined as a caste structure of Indian social stratification. So this thinker, that is Guru Nanak, who founded a religion called Sikhism, believed that there is no caste system. This means both of us belong to the same community. We don't make a distinction by saying that one is superior and another is inferior. So Guru Nanak fought against the caste system. Also, like other thinkers like Buddha and Mahavira, he also fought against rituals, and he believed that God is one and no priest is needed. No priest is needed for worshipping God, and the Adi Granth is a sacred text of this religion. So all these religion point, number one, there are some common principles among religions. I am talking about the unity of all religions. That is, all religions have some common principles. This we can say unity among religions, and oneness of religion, because oneness of religion means all religion speak about that there is one God, and there are different ways by which one can reach God, and one should develop the brotherhood of human beings, among human beings. So love, compassion and non-killing is emphasized in all religions. Also, just now I said that Indian social stratification is such that there are 4 groups or 4 castes or 4 classes. Individual life is also classified like that. So this is the beauty of Indian philosophical system. Not only social way of life, but also individual life is classified. For example, a born human being must undergo, or he is supposed to undergo, these 4 stages. The first stage is known as brahmacharya. I will explain that in English. Then grahastha, third is vanaprastha and sannyasa. Now then the first one, it is said that for the first 25 years, from his birth to till he attains his 25th year, one has to be a student. That is, brahmacharya is a student life. So one has to be a student. Then, next stage is grahastha. After his student life, one is supposed to enter into a family life. That is, one must get married and beget children. Then the third stage is very important, vanaprastha. That is, it is said in Hindu system that after a particular stage, that is after grahastha, you must enter into vanaprastha. That is, vana means forest. You must go to forest and meditate. And then the fourth stage is sannyasa stage. Sannyasa stage is a real saint life. So it is said that each individual is supposed to go all these 4 stages. So in this way, you see in Indian system, there is a unity between the individual as well as a social life. Then another important feature, I would say, is that Hindu philosophy or Indian philosophy believes in 4 values. There are 4 values which are prescribed in Hindu philosophical system. They are known as dharma, artha, kama and moksha. I will explain that in English, don't worry. The first stage, the first value is said to be dharma. Dharma is nothing but virtue. That is, one must always develop virtues in life. One must practice virtues. So this is the first and the foremost value, important value which the individual must practice. He must practice virtues. And secondly, it is said artha. Artha means wealth. One needs money, no doubt. So one must earn money. That is also important. But please note that Indian systems argue that one must gather money by moral means only. So this is the second value. And third value is karma, that is a family life. This is also important. It's a part of human life. Then the fourth one is moksha. Moksha means liberation, salvation. So it is very important for the individual to attain liberation. Because without liberation, life is incomplete, they say. That is the reason why we say that in Indian philosophical tradition, that attaining liberation is said to be the highest value. You are born into the world with a purpose. What is that purpose? That you must attain liberation, salvation. How is this possible? By practicing these previous, these 3 previous values which are said just now. One must follow dharma or virtuous life. Then one must also gather wealth by moral means. Then one must also have a family life. And then one can attain liberation. So liberation is not moksha or liberation or salvation, you may call. It is not something outside, because there is a discussion that is going on in India among the contemporary scholars, whether moksha or this liberation is a transcendental value or it is a value which could be attained in this life itself. And there are scholars who argue that if an individual practices the first three values, then automatically he can go to the fourth value in this life itself. So this is very important in Indian philosophical tradition. And another important concept that is discussed in Indian philosophy is karma. Actually the word karma, because it's a Sanskrit word, means action. Karma means action. Action of what? Your past action, the present action, and the future action. This means you cannot escape from your actions. Whatever actions, whether you do good things or bad things, it is said that you have to reap the consequences of that action. So there is no way of escape. So that is the reason why Hindu philosophy believes in the life after death. So it is believed that after my physical death, after my death, I will take another birth based on the actions which I performed in this life itself. So if you perform bad actions, it is said that in order to reap the consequences of that action, you will take another birth. So this goes on. So this is like a cycle. So that is the reason why it is said, if you want to stop this rebirth cycle, then you have to perform good actions. So in Indian philosophical tradition, there is always a link between the body and the self or soul. This cannot be separated. It is not mere material body that is important, but in the material body there is a self or jiva which is always living even after the destruction of the physical body. The only thing is the soul will choose some other body in the next birth. So this goes on. So these are some of the major religions in India which we have discussed: Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism and Sikhism. These are the major religions. And let us discuss some of the contemporary thinkers in philosophical tradition of India, culture in India. One is Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who lived during the 19th century and 20th century, because he is the one who has inspired Swami Vivekananda, a great sage of India, who addressed a Chicago religious meet, and people who attended that meeting was overwhelmed by his speech, because always we address the gathering as ladies and gentlemen, no? But it was Swami Vivekananda who said brothers and sisters. That word made a tremendous impact on the audience. So Swami Vivekananda was a powerful speaker and writer. His teacher was Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, a great saint of Calcutta, West Bengal. So Hinduism is one ancient religion of the world. We should not forget the fact that Hindu philosophy or Hinduism is one of the ancient religions of the world, and the people who lived the other side of the river, actually there is a debate with regard to the term Hindu, because many scholars argue that the name Hindu was given by foreigners. So they say the term is of a foreign origin. So in fact it is said that those people who lived on the other side of the river Sindhu are known as Hindus. So in fact the Hindu is a Persian word. And we must remember the fact that Hinduism is not mere a religion. It is a way of life. And also it is not founded by any particular thinker or a founder or a prophet. Now look at these temples of India. You see the structure. The great architects of India, ancient architects, have constructed these beautiful temples in India. You see how they differ from one another. The architectural beauty you can see. So all this point out that all religions are equal, and it is a religion which connects the individual with God, and tolerance is very much essential. Why? Because now we fight in the name of religion, which is against the philosophy of bioethics, I would say. Because bioethics believes in the love of all. In fact, Professor Devil has written a beautiful book on this. He says how or why there is a need for the individual to love the other. So, there is a need now to love the other human beings. But we have been fighting the name of religion. So we say that tolerance is a right word, but tolerance, according to Swami Vivekananda, is not a right word. Because tolerance, we use the word tolerance in a negative way. Say, you are not equal to me, but in spite of that I tolerate you. This is what it means, the word means. So Swami Vivekananda has used the word coexistence. It is not mere tolerance. When both of us are equal, why should you tolerate me? It is nothing but the coexistence of you and me in the world. So in this way, you see, Hindu philosophy has given a different methodology for understanding the individual. So now let us see how Hindu scriptures are discussed or examined. Now we see the 4 Vedas. There are 4 Vedas. Then there is also what is known as the Upanishads, which are very important. And we have got 2 great epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are very, very important. And then we have got Puranas, which talk about history, cosmology, etc. And in Hindu philosophy, the avatars. Avatara is very important. This, of course, and once again a Sanskrit word, but I give the equivalent. Avatara means incarnation. It is said that God takes various avatars or incarnation to protect the individuals. It is said that God has taken 10 avatars or 10 incarnations, which is emphasized in Vaishnavism, a sect of Hindu philosophy. For example, God took the form of fish, He took the form of tortoise, He took the form of boar, He took the form of man-lion, and He took the form of dwarf, then man with axe, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, and Kalki. Kalki is said to be the present avatar. Now what is important is, you see how bioethics could be related to this avatars. Now this fish, tortoise, boar, all this point out that we have a love for the animals. This is what it means. So you see how even God has given this animal life in order to show that there is no difference between the human beings and the animals. So this you can see the relation that exists between bioethics and religion. In the contemporary period, we have got great thinkers like Shankara, who was mainly responsible for preaching the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. Then we have got another thinker by name Ramanuja and another thinker by name Madhva. Now what is important is that in Hindu philosophy, the role of the Bhagavad Gita is something very important. I don't know whether you heard the word Bhagavad Gita. It's a very, very important text in Hindu philosophy. It contains 18 chapters. It is nothing but a dialogue between a human being and God. Now, what is the significance of this text? The hero, who is a human being, but the real hero is Krishna, God. But let us say the hero, Arjuna, who is known by the name Arjuna, in the battlefield, he throws his bows and he said, he will not fight in the army. Because he said, just in front of me I see my relatives, I see my kith and kin, I see my friends. So why should I fight? I don't want any kingdom. I will not fight. Then the Lord Krishna, then he teaches that there is a need for him to fight. Even though they are your own relatives, even though they are your friends, though they are your kith and kin, there is a need for you to fight against them. Don't hesitate. Why? Because he says it is very much essential to safeguard the principle of dharma, moral life. So you have to fight. So this is a dialogue between the Lord Krishna and Arjuna. So this is a very important text in Hindu philosophy. So there are some sects in Hindu philosophy. That is, one is Shaivism, where they worship the Lord Shiva. Then there is also Vaishnavism, where they worship Lord Vishnu. And there are also minor deity worship. This is very important in the background of culture. Because I told you that I belong to a Tamil culture. And then somebody say, my friend, he belongs to Kerala culture. Now, in my culture, it is in Tamil culture, we have got some minor deity worship. Small gods. For example, on an auspicious day, we go to that village temple. They are village gods, they are known as. And we believe that these gods protect the village. So special sacrifices are done during some special days. So this is also a part of Hindu philosophy. So we can say, apart from major sects in Hindu philosophy, we have got the worship of small gods, which family gods we call them. Because I belong to Hindu philosophy, I mean Hinduism, and I have my own deity in the family, in the village. So both are very important. This is what I would say, the interrelation between the minor and major gods in Hindu philosophy. And also sacrifice. Animal sacrifice is considered important in this small deities, among the small deities. Then animal worship, that is, it is very much essential that we have to go to temple during their festivals, and the rituals are also important. And it is said that one has to go to a place like Rameshwaram. And then also one has to go to river Ganges and take a holy dip. Then there is also puja, which is very important. Puja means sacrificial flowers which we are offering to God. And then we have got religious festivals which are very important. For example, Lord Rama's birthday is celebrated in Ramanavami. Then similarly, Krishnastami is another important festival. Then Ganesh Chaturthi, Durga Puja, these are some of the important festivals of India. Then with regard to religious festivals, you see Diwali, it is said that it is nothing but the killing of demon. And then another important sun god worship is Pongal, we call it Pongal. Then Mahashivaratri, these are some of the important festivals of India. Now look at this picture, it is Diwali. You see this is lighting of lamps, which is very important. I think in your place also very famous, no? Bangladesh. Diwali is very, very important for Hindus. Not only Hindus, the others community also, Jains also do that. So it is a festival of lamps. Then another important festival is, look at this god, Ganesha. You see, he has got an elephant face. So this is also a very important festival in India, especially in Mumbai and other places. This is a very famous festival. They celebrate this for 10 days. And also, you see, look at this. This is at Kali temple in Bengal, especially in Calcutta. You see how Kali, Lord Kali is worshipped and celebrated. This is a very, very important festival. Then another is another temple. This is car festival. You see, in every temple, big temple, you see a temple car like this. So they celebrate it for 1 week. You see a lot of people follow this car. Then this another important festival is Holi festival, which is also famous in Bangladesh, I know.
Yeah.
This is also, see, Holi festival, with the color powder they put on each other's face and celebrate. Then during that time, the house is decorated with rangoli and then with flowers and then with the lights. So, all this point out that from the classical period up to the contemporary period, there is always the synthesis of tradition and modernity. And not only that, we see how bioethics is introduced. Of course, bioethics is a term which emerged recently in the sense, at least from, you can say, from 19th century onwards we have been using. But without knowing that, without using the phrase bioethics, I'm talking about Indian context. So, I would say that Indian philosophers considered that nature is part of their life, so there is no anthropocentric philosophy that is practiced in India. They always believed in cosmocentric or cosmotheantric vision that is very much practiced in. But does it mean that everything is perfect? No, I would say. Because in the contemporary period, there were some protest movement which I am going to discuss with you, but prior to that, the sati practice and child marriage. This is some of the evils of a Hindu system. What is a sati practice? A horrible practice. Some of you might know this. Sati practice is where when the husband dies, the woman also is put into forcefully she will put her on fire. This is a very dangerous practice. And also child marriage. Another social evil, we call it social evil. So, it was Rajaram Mohan Rai from West Bengal. He fought against this. He was the first person to raise his voice. So, these social evils were stopped, and he was mainly responsible for initiating widows' remarriage. So these are some of the important events that took place in philosophical tradition. So when we are talking about the contemporary thinkers, we should make a reference to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whom I mentioned just now, then Swami Vivekananda, then another important thinker from West Bengal is Sri Aurobindo. The first three belong to Bengal. Sri Aurobindo, then Satya Sai Baba of Shiradi, another great mystic philosopher thinker. Then another thinker is Satya Sai Baba of Puttaparthi. So all these people have contributed, great sages and saints and mystics have contributed for the progress of Indian culture and Indian values, Indian religion, and the role of the religious mutts. Mutts means, what shall I say, religious order. They have also contributed for the development of culture. So this is Satya Sai Baba of Shiradi, a saint who lived during the 19th century. Then Ramana Maharishi is also a great saint of India. Then another saint, Satya Sai Baba of Puttaparthi. Then Swami Vivekananda. Now let us discuss very briefly, of course, the revolt movements. Revolt movements. What do you mean by the revolt movements? Though Hindu culture or Indian culture has contributed for the progress and development of the individual as well as society, these protest movements played a significant role. One of the protest movement which started very early was the materialistic school of Hindu philosophy, otherwise known as Charvaka. Now materialism is a philosophy which believes that matter is the highest reality. There is no God for them, there is no God. They say, don't believe the priest because they are cheating you, because there is nothing called the moksha. So be happy with whatever you get. And also they say that philosophy is eat, drink and be merry. This is our philosophy. This is a materialistic outlook towards life. So this philosophy came as a revolt against ancient Indian philosophical tradition. I would say this is the first protest movement, because they do not believe in God, they do not believe in the rituals, they do not believe in the priest, they do not believe in moksha. So their philosophy is matter is something very important. So this world is, so make use of the world, be happy, be cheerful. Now another, and for them God is a myth. The concept of God is nothing but a myth. So the heaven and hell are nothing but the creation of a priest according to them. Then another important protest movement is Jainism, which we have discussed just now, because this is also a protest movement in the sense this is a revolt against Hindu philosophy. It is a religion, no doubt, but it is a religion without God. So another important protest movement I would say is Buddhism, which I have discussed just now, because they say it is very much essential for the entire society as to be liberated. But most of the time we are concerned about our own salvation. But it was Lord Buddha who said the entire society has to be liberation. So he was responsible for developing the concept of cosmic salvation, the entire salvation for the entire community. And he had preached 4 important truths which are otherwise known as noble truths. He said, yes, life is full of suffering. He has understood the reality of life. So he declared the life is full of suffering, no doubt. Even the so-called happiness, he says, contains some suffering. The second important principle for him is there is cause for suffering. When you are suffering, you must also analyze the reason for your suffering. So he said, there is a cause for your suffering. Then cessation of suffering is possible. That is, you can easily come out of this suffering. So that's why he not only states the cause, but also he says the reason for the cause, then also he states the remedy from this. So the fourth important principle is there is a path to reach the state where there is no mystery. So this is the highest principle in life. Then there are great thinkers who analyzed Hindu philosophy and argued that there are some basic problems with the Hindu philosophy. So their philosophy is quite often known as anti-Hinduism, anti-Hindu philosophy. For example, one important thinker is Pule. He is from Maharashtra. Then another important thinker from Maharashtra is Dr. Ambedkar. Then E.V.R. Periyar. Now the question is, what made them to criticize Hinduism? We call them reformists. We call them anti-Hindus. Why do they criticize Hinduism? Because they believe in Hinduism there is a casteism, there is hierarchy, there are rituals, superstitious beliefs. This is very important. Superstitious beliefs, and hence there is a need for association. There are a lot of superstitious beliefs which a Hindu follows, for example, without knowing the reason. He is practicing some superstitious beliefs. So this made the social reformers to reject the philosophy of Hinduism. Now, I'll skip some of the things. Now, in Hindu way of life, the shrines and temples play a dominant role. Because it is said that you have to go to the temple and visit some important temples in your life. So, shrines, visiting shrines is very important. Because shrines represent living in harmony with subtle nature. Because shrines are not mere buildings. In Japan, I see a lot of shrines, but they are not mere structures, buildings. There are a lot of implications, a lot of life situation is implied. So they transcend time and space. They always transcend time and space. By visiting these shrines, one gets a spiritual peace and happiness. Now, I'll give some pictures, you see. Now, prior to that, I would like to quote Swami Ramakrishna, who says, quote, "The Ganges water is not to be regarded as water, nor the dust of Sri Vrindavan as dust, nor the Mahaprasada of Sri Jagannatha as rice. These three are objective manifestation of the Supreme Being." In Hindu philosophy, the role of the individual belief is important. Now, if you go to, I don't know whether you have gone to river Ganges, maybe my friend from Bangladesh, you might have gone to Ganges. Did you visit Ganges? Did you visit Ganges river? No. Okay. Ganges, it is like any other river, one can say. But But it is not like that. We consider something superior. It is very sacred. So touching the water or taking a holy dip in river Ganges is something very, very, very auspicious for Hindus. In fact, it is said at least once in one's life, he or she must visit the river Ganges and have a holy dip. So, Swami Ramakrishna says, it is not regarded as water, it is not mere water. Water in a glass is water, no doubt. The Ganges water is also water, but there are a lot of difference. So we can't treat Ganges water as mere water. That's what Swami Ramakrishna says. Then the dust of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is where Lord Krishna resides, the Hindu belief. Now the Mahaprasada of Sri Jagannatha. Jagannatha temple is in Puri, in Orissa. Very big temple. And the Lord there is known as Lord Jagannatha. So if you visit the temple, they will give you prasada. Prasada means some food they will give. It is not mere food, that's what, it is not mere rice. It is something very sacred. So it all depends on how you look at that. So this means that when you visit this place, you are connected to the Supreme Being. That spirituality is very much present. And not only that, the symbols, the idols which you find in temples, they are not mere idol. They are not mere stones or metallic or clay or wood. You see a lot of paintings and drawings. They are not mere paintings. And by looking at these paintings, you try to relate yourself with that of the Supreme. Now look at Lord Shiva, a picture of Lord Shiva. But you see, you see bioethics here, that how he is wearing like a jewel, he is wearing a snake, and around in his head he has got the river Ganges. Is not clearly seen. So all this represent that the Lord is a symbol of both nature as well as inanimate and animate. Then look at his son, Lord Ganesha, who sits on his lap. He represents of human being and of animal, that is elephant. Now this is a dance of Lord Shiva. You see Lord Shiva, it's a dance. Then you look at Lord Vishnu, who sleeps on the snake in the river. So all this represent, now this also Lord Vishnu and his consort and his wife Lakshmi. Then Lord Vishnu and his vehicle. The vehicle of Lord Vishnu is Garuda, eagle. See, there is a link between human beings and the animals and birds. This represents that. So, a great deal of anthropocentrism has entered into the mode of worship. For example, Vishnu, Shiva, Devi have more than 2 arms. Shiva has 3 eyes, and some gods have animal heads. This is very important, animal heads. In the Puranas, the non-anthropocentric features receive symbolic interpretation. Now look at this temple as human form. This is a very important picture for Hindus. Look at this, the temple the temple is a vertical arrangement of spatial terms of a temple structure, and you can see how human beings is identified with the temple structure. Like human beings' body, this temple is seen. So this is nothing but temple as a human form. So you can see the similarity between the individual, that is the body of the individual, and the temple. So this represents a synthesis between immanent and the transcendent. Now look at Lord Vishnu is having a dance. This is dance of Lord Shiva. Then finally I come to pilgrimage. Why one is supposed to go to this pilgrimage? So here one should remember that life itself is a pilgrimage. The whole lifetime is a time for undertaking the pilgrimage. But sometimes it is said that pilgrim visit is nothing but not for want of pleasure, but it represents the integral relation that exists between the immanent and the transcendent. So I will skip some of these slides. So finally I come to the concluding part. Now what does this represent? We have discussed the religions of India, culture of India. So what does it represent? It represents all religions, explain that there is a need for spirit of tolerance, Catholicity of outlook, respect for each other's faith. This is very important, and this is what we have been stressing in bioethics. And willingness to abide by the rules of self-discipline. This is very important. This is very much essential both at the individual as well as group level. Then we should understand the fact that different religious communities are all part of one nation. So this means everything is part of all different kinds of religion one can practice, but it is a part of one nation, and we should not fight in the name of religion. All the religions should support the national unity. Then, so in a broader perspective, one can say there are some fundamental concepts that we must accept if religion is not to become increasingly peripheral to the vast majority of human beings, but on the contrary, develop into dynamic force for a new integration. And then finally, there are some principles which I would like to place before you. The first one is the concept of the unity of human race. The entire humanity is one. So we cannot have any racial discrimination or any religious discrimination or any caste discrimination. So this is very important. The second is the concept of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. This means we must always believe that the entire world is one family. We are all members of that family. Then finally, in each and every individual, there is a divinity of man. So in every one of us, there is a divinity. Then finally, there is a social unity or essential unity of all religions. So, the fourth point is very important. Because in the contemporary scenario, we see how people fight with each other in the name of religion. So, I would like to emphasize that the essential unity of all religions must be a celebrated concept in the contemporary world. So, let me summarize what I said in 2 or 3 points. In Indian philosophical context, one can see the synthesis between culture, religion and bioethics. Though bioethics has emerged as a separate discipline in the 19th and 20th centuries, in Indian philosophical tradition we see how it has been considered as one of their life principles. So it is a culture which unites people, it is a culture which brings harmony among people, and it is religion which is very much essential, because it is through religion one can understand the values of the spirituality, and through which one can celebrate the bioethics concept. So with this I would like to stop, and I would request you to respond to my lecture so that we will have more understanding. Thank you very much.
Questions, comments from us?
Professor,
Yeah, please.
what is the percentage of Jainism population?
What is the percentage of Jainism? Jainism percentage is very lesser than Buddhist percentage.
What is the Buddhism? What is the percentage of Buddhism now?
Percentage I can't say, but I would say at least 5%,
Yeah?
but Jainism I would say 3%. But now there is what is called revival of Buddhism that is taking place because of Dr. Ambedkar. So many people got converted into Buddhism. Even around last week also many people got converted into Buddhism. So that is taking place. But Jainism is something I would say it is something very static. It is a very, I would say it is a very rigid religion. Very rigid. So that might be one of the reasons why it has not reached the common people. It is practiced by a particular community, Marwadi community.
What is Buddhism is still being practiced?
Which one?
Buddhism.
Just
Good.
to this one.
In Jainism, there are two sects actually.
Yeah.
One is Digambaras and another is Swarnamparas. Now the Digambaras, they don't wear any dress at all. But that is also very, very bigger. Maybe only the monks practice that. Belong to that. So,
The comments?
no question. Marriage, that's a very good question. Why Hindu marriages are very, very costly? Actually, in fact, I have got 2 daughters. She knows the entire story. I got my first daughter married. I had to spend a lot of money, which I can't reveal it here because there are this video.
Also,
it is
Muslim marriage is also expensive.
Yeah, I think in India and Bangladesh and Pakistan, I don't know. But Hindu marriages, from my experience, I would say, because the problem is, I don't know whether one can call it a problem, that the women, the girl has to pay a lot of dowries, though it is prohibited by law. Now, for example, my daughter's marriage, I have to conduct my daughter's marriage, not the other side, not boys' side. So that itself is, because marriage is for 2 days. Yeah, and for some community 3 days. For some community 7 days. So you can imagine. And moreover, we don't conduct it in a small place like we'll take a big hall where one can accommodate 1,000 people. 1,000 people. Okay. And then we have to give very, very nice food for three times. Evening would be a reception, should be very grand. Okay. That is prior to marriage, evening that day. And the next day morning we have to give breakfast. Then lunch. So you can imagine expensive, very expensive. And also, unfortunately, we have to give a lot of jewels. That is, it is inevitable. It is inevitable. It is inevitable in the sense, very rarely marriages takes place without this. At least now things are changing, I would say. Prior to that, they were demanding. Now dowry, getting money from the other party is now banned by law. But in spite of that, marriage. Because they've got a very big reception. Recently I came across a marriage, and it seems from the bridegroom side, they said they want that the bridegroom, prior to the marriage, he must come in a chariot with 2 horse chariots with drums beating, this, that, and all. So you can see the expense. Why? So this is part of that is one reason.
Any divorce?
Divorce is taking place now. No. Why? Because now the Hindu family structure is changing, because now the girls are very well educated. They also go for job. In spite of that, they have to offer. That is another thing. One may be the girl may be a doctor or engineer or something like that. But in spite of that, she has to. That party has to offer a lot of money, and they have to conduct a marriage. Apart from that. Because now the women are educated, and since they are also working, they ask the question, why I should be a subordinate to you. So a lot of divorce are also taking place. That I would say is something good. Because now women, they have to revolt. Why should they be subordinate to men? They are equal. No, both men and women are equal. But if men try to dominate, then this is a high time for the girls to come out of the house and they have to divorce their husband. This is my policy. Please.
So in planning the huge ceremony, what happens to families that don't have money?
Yeah, that is a very big problem. Those who have, either they borrow money from others, or sometimes they would say, this is also a very tragic part of Hindu marriage. That is, sometimes they say, okay, after marriage, now we'll make the marriage simple. For example, they would say, we'll give you 10 sovereigns of gold. Okay. 10 sovereigns means, you can imagine 10 into 8, 80 grams, which comes out 80 grams. Yeah, at least. So they will say, now we give you 5 sovereigns of gold. Then after marriage, we will give you the rest. So sometimes they give, sometimes they may not give. Poor people, they suffer. So there will be, the girl will be sent out of the house. She will come back to the father. This is what is happening.
She will come back to her father?
To her father. She will stay with him. And once he gives money, she might go back. This is what is happening, especially in many villages. This is very common. That's why I'm sorry to say that female infanticide is something very it is social evil that is being practiced in India. That is village. That is horrible. When you see, when a girl child is born, the next minute they kill the baby.
Oh my God.
Next minute, there is some poisonous milk, all sorts of things.
That must
And the
be
government
terrible.
took some initiative. So they say, if you are not able to manage your girl child, give it to our the government asylum where we take care of the child. Something like that. Now the government is doing. But you see, there are many families, they are broken because of this. Because they want only boys. No, I must tell my experience. First, because we are fond of girls. So my first my wife gave birth to a girl. We were very happy. Then we wanted to have another child, but we were very very clear. If boy comes, that's okay. Even girl comes, so no problem. So we got girl. No problem. Fine. We are very happy with them. In fact, in girls we see the love and affection. That is something which is there. But in some families, this is what I was telling you. In some families, the first will be female, the second also will be female, third also will be female. Because next time we will be expecting, next time she will deliver a boy baby. So this happens. You can see if it continuously, if it happens, then what would be the situation? So that fellow in many villages is taking place. The next time she should give a birth baby boy baby. Otherwise, she will be sent out to her own mother's or fathers. This is what is happening. This is a very big problem in India. But the government is taking all initiative, but in spite of that, in village situation is horrible actually. So that's why they go for female infanticide. It's very, very pathetic the way in which we are doing.
You think the culture will be changed some part?
Pardon?
The culture itself can change?
No, this could be changed provided we have a proper understanding of the concept of marriage.
Because I think that if a girl is sent back from her husband's house, back to her father's house because they couldn't pay gold, then the family doesn't really want to marry her. They just want gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's very disrespectful.
Yeah. But there are poor families where many girls were not married because then they don't have funds. They don't have. That's why now there is awareness, and girls are now going to college and they are earning also very nicely. So this love marriage is also developing very well. In the sense that where there will be a proper understanding. But I don't know whether this will last for long. Even love marriages, sometimes they create problem after marriage. So unless we change the concept of Hindu marriage, there is no way out. But we are still working out, and it will take maybe another century, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Not before that.
Can I ask, you listed 10 avatars of human beings, but there are, in the reincarnation in Hindu traditions, multiple. You can be reincarnated to many other creatures. So why only 10 avatars? And in Indian gods, you have many other forms of incarnations of God.
Yeah, actually,
so how does that work?
This is what I said is restricted only to Vaishnava philosophy.
Yeah.
One of the important sects of Hinduism is Vaishnavism, wherein it is said that God takes some avatars in order to safeguard the individuals. So now, for example, this boar, he took the form of a boar in order to take the Vedas which were hidden in the earth by some evil forces. So he has to come and He took the form of a boar and then he has to go. Then this avatara, Narsimha avatara is very, very important one. That is very good. Because now one demon got a boon from God that he will not be killed by any animal, he will not killed by any human being, he will not killed by day, he will not killed by night. So all sorts of things he got. Okay. So, but he was doing all sorts of things and there is no way of killing him. So God has to take off human body, then off lion body, then he will not kill him in the day or night around 6 o'clock, whether it is day or night. So it is something like that happened. So it is restricted only to Vishnu or Vaishnava, but there are many this thing which is very much available. This thing. Because that is something considered a very sacred. No?
At the same time, can I switch between avatars in my current life?
You can't take avatara.
I cannot.
Avatara is only for God.
But the God can take multiple avatars sequentially. Yeah?
Who?
Vishnu or God. They can change at the same time with different avatars
No,
only once?
one after the other. Now the present age is Kali Yuga avatara, where it is said that he is coming in a horse, riding a horse. So this is, we are not seeing, but these are all written in Puranas. So you can't take one after the other. Now this ideal of Rama is one avatara. No, that Rama avatara is to show that how one has to, individual has to live a perfect life, a simple, ordinary life. Because though he was a king, Lord Rama, though he was denied kingdom, he could have got it back, but he never. So that represents an ideal life.
But each avatar will have different characters.
Yeah.
So the ideal life for each character will vary.
Yeah, that's true. But in Rama Avatara represents that one must have a righteous, very righteous life. Now take Krishna Avatara for example. I wouldn't say that he was very righteous. Righteous in the sense, many times he deviated from the regular rules. But Rama never did that. Rama was very humble, simple and practiced his life like any ordinary being. But Krishna Avatara is different because he was doing all sorts of things in order to demolish the bad or adharmic principle he was doing. So that was allowed.
So the purpose...
That's why they say, follow the life of Rama, not Krishna.
I see. So let's say, talking about philosophy, if you were writing of Plato in the symposium, 12 people discussing different views of love, different ethical examples. Is there any similarity in the sense that the Hindu literature is looking at these different avatars, different characters as illustrations to people of what's a moral life and what's not a moral life?
Yeah, in all the avatars, I would say they represent the distinction between a moral and immoral life and why human beings must follow a moral life. So the life of the Lord Vishnu or Rama or Vamana, for example, that all these represent that there is always a fight between dharmic and adharmic principle, evil and dharmic principle fight, and how good conquers or how dharmic principles conquer. This is what is represented.
Okay, and then kama, you mentioned kama, K-A-M-A.
Kama, yeah.
Could you explain a bit, because I thought kama was also sometimes translated as love.
But kama
what is kama?
Love, family life, but it is actually kama. In fact, the literal meaning of that is a sexual life. Because we have got shastras, for example, Kama Sutra, it's a text. But the idea is that how love has to be practiced or love has to be preached in life. which is possible, which is possible through the family life. So it is connected to not mere sex or love, but it is practiced through a family. That's what Hindu philosophy says. Family is very important for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.